to get to all cases. If we are unable to go past 10 p.m., we may have to continue some, but we will do our best. What I'm going to ask is I'm going to introduce all the zoning board members and people participating from town administration. And at that time, I'd like just those people to unmute their mics so I can get a roll call in that way. I will then go down the line with all our cases, and I would ask anybody associated with any of those cases to speak in, and also test your microphone at that point in time. So I'll start with Becky Kilborn.
Here.
Ken Scholes, our clerk.
Here.
Jeff Sauer.
I'm here, John.
Thank you. Ken Gervinian.
Here.
Ken Gervinian.
Yeah, here. Can you hear me?
Got you now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are our 5 voting members. Our alternate is Corinne Doherty.
Here.
Thank you, Corinne. From our Code Administration Department, we have Kathy Archambault.
Here.
And our Building Inspector, Mr. Rich Maloney.
I'm here.
I think he's out there. Rich?
Can you hear me?
There we go. Thank you, Rich. Before I turn it over to the clerk to read some more verbiage that the state is requiring, could I ask whoever is here on 101 Center Street to check in, please?
I'm here. Mills Weeks.
Anyone else here on 101 Center Street?
I'm here. Mills Weeks, 101 Center Street.
Yep. Any public comment on 101 Center Street? 200 Commonwealth Ave.
I'm here, Nancy McCann.
Thank you, Nancy. Anyone else associated with this?
I'm here, Joe Latosis.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Scott Cameron.
Yeah, Scott Cameron as well. Thank you. Anyone on Bradley Road?
I am Chris Rideout.
Thank you. Anyone else associated with Bradley Road? Thank you. 6 Donegal Circle.
Hi, we're here. Sarah,
Here.
Christian, Donato.
Hi, guys. Anyone else associated with Donegal Circle? Thank you. And if I could just ask you to remute your mics after you speak. 12 Weeks Road.
Hi, David and Catherine Walnowitz.
Thank you.
Richard Bocelli.
Thank you. Anyone else on Weeks Road? And last and certainly not least, Brown Road.
I'm here, Todd Wilson.
Okay, thank you, Todd.
Present. Franco Carullo, builder.
I'm sorry, Michael, and you're here on Brown Road as well?
Franco Carullo, yes, on Brown Road.
Frank, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so again, please mute your mics. I guess I don't have to tell you to turn off cell phones, but if you are speaking, we don't want them going off. So as you all know, the state has allowed us to operate our open meeting in this manner. I've called all the staff. I've checked in with microphones on everybody. If we do have additional questions or people that tune in later, we will attempt to have them join the discussion. I understand this is being broadcast through DCAT. Some questions may come into our building inspector via that avenue, so we're going to move maybe a little slower than normal to make sure all public comment is heard. We will do it in the same fashion where our board members will ask questions of the applicant after you do your presentation. We will put it out to public comment and then come back for deliberations, and you can see which way the board is leaning as far as the vote. And I think that's it. Mr. Clerk, if you could read our introduction on remote meetings from the state.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. This open meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020. Due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth and due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Zoning Board of Appeals is convening remotely via the WebEx app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording.
Thank you, Ken. Board members, we have minutes from our last meeting that ended in calendar year 2020 in December. All our votes need to be done via a roll call. I need a motion and a second to accept those minutes. I'm sorry. Ken, are you seconding? Who was my motion?
I am.
Becky, thank you. All members in favor, I'll start with you, Becky.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Jeff Sauer,
Yes, approved.
Ken Jarvinian,
Yes.
Corinne Doherty. Corinne Doherty,
Yes.
and myself, John Bonner. Okay, all are in favor. Mr. Clerk, I think I captured everything, so I believe we have a continued case to start the evening, if you could please read.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our first case is Dillip Realty LLC, docket 20-4886, requesting a use and dimensional variance to redevelop the property into a 5-story multifamily building with 208 residential units and 5-story accessory parking garage in accordance with section 6.1 and table of the Town of Danvers Zoning Bylaws at 152 Endicott Street. Mr. Chairman, we are in receipt of a letter from Gold Stores, attorneys for the applicant, requesting that they be continued to the February 8th, 2021 meeting. Timothy Sullivan, attorney.
Thank you, Ken. All right, could I get a motion to continue this to February 8th?
So moved.
Okay, and I got a second by Jeff Sauer. I got a motion by Becky. All in favor? Becky, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Ken Jarvinian?
Approve. Aye.
Corinne Doherty?
Approved.
And myself, I also approve. Thank you. All right, if we could go to our continued business, or other business, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next case is Todd Wilson, docket 20-4889. Request to change the floor plan of the previously approved special permit to create an extended family living area on a non-conforming lot that is undersized. The EFLA will comply with all requirements in accordance with section 9.3.2, the Danvers Zoning Bylaws at 2 Brown Road.
Okay, Mr. Wilson, if you could just present us, I know we're a little handcuffed here with being able to see material, but just understand that all the board members do have your new submitted plan along with the old plan and your letter.
Yeah, sure. I hope you're all doing good tonight. Yeah, so basically, the work that we're looking to do is a lot smaller than it was before. The budget changed, so I don't know if you have the previous ones, but you'll see it's like this. This setup is a lot smaller.
Okay, but the addition is still the same square footage at 662, is that correct?
No, I believe it's smaller.
What was it prior?
I'm actually not sure on that. So,
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I don't have the original plan in front of me. I just have the new plan, but we shrunk it by, I believe it was like 150 feet to 200 feet.
Okay, I guess I'm trying to understand, but it looks like the EFLA itself did not shrink, is that correct?
No, what we had to do was eliminate the courtyard. So we had to bring it all in tighter to the house in order to meet budget requirements.
Okay. Mr. Wilson, anything else you want to give us?
no, thank you.
Okay, let me turn it over to questions. We'll start with you, Becky.
Okay, so the plan that we have in front of us is the new plan or the
Yes.
old plan?
That's the
Yeah, you should have a copy of the new and the old.
The new and the old.
Yeah. Or maybe just the new, I apologize. It's been a long day.
So the plan I have says there's a courtyard.
That
No,
was the
It was
first
the old
set.
plan.
Okay.
Should be a second page to that, Becky.
So the second page is,
The new plan.
okay, stated October 30th.
Yep. No, that's, you're looking at, the new plan eliminates the courtyard altogether. So there's no courtyard on the new plan.
Okay, so the EFLA, the extended family living area, and the old plan is 750 square feet. And on the new plan, it's 662 square feet. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, correct.
Well, I don't know. Then this says only addition and it has bedrooms.
Yeah, there should be 3 bedrooms, you know, on the addition, 1, 2, and then 3.
That's not the EFLA, right?
No, the EFLA,
The EFLA hasn't changed, Becky.
yeah, the EFLA has not changed at all.
Okay, so only what's changing is the new addition part
And
Right,
the,
and the courtyard.
right.
So, all right, so the request is not to change the EFLA, but to reduce the size of the addition. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm all
thank you,
set.
thank you, Becky. Ken Scholes.
I have no questions. As long as the EFLA didn't get any bigger, that's fine with me.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff Sauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no questions. It's pretty clear they're downsizing the plan a little.
Thank you, Jeff. Ken Jarvinian.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. And Corinne Doherty.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Corinne. My only question, guys, is, you know, we always look for what the shared area is. I'm assuming that did not change. It's still the same shared area.
No, that is still the same. That did not change.
And what is that? Just to help me on the plan here.
I wish John was on with us. I'm looking
I mean,
at-
I see, I can help you. I mean, I see shared laundry. So besides the laundry room, is there anything else?
Yeah, to the right of that, there's a shared like living room.
Yeah,
area.
the diagonal, sitting room area.
Very good. Okay, I think that's all I had as well. Is there anybody online for public comment on 2 Brown Road? Okay, hearing none. I will go out to Rich Maloney. Rich, I just want to get a clarification. We're voting to allow the change in what was issued. I'm a little confused because the EFLA itself hasn't changed. You're still muted, Rich.
No, all right, John. What happened was, as we usually do, you voted on the plan submitted. So to make the record clear, that's why I had him go back onto old business, just so we have a set of drawings that the board has seen and voted on, and that'll be part of the permanent record.
Okay, so this is just an updated drawing, and it's still the same variance that we already voted on.
It was a special permit, yes.
Special permit, sorry, thank you.
Yeah, so they've maintained common area. They've just, the plan's really downsized for budget reasons, and again, this is just so we have the record reflects what's being built for the future.
And we need to approve this as a regular special permit?
No, you're just gonna vote on it to accept the change in plans, and it'll become part of the record.
Okay, so I don't need a motion.
Well, yeah, you would take a motion, and
I would,
again,
okay.
we'll put those minutes in the new plan in the ZBA file, and it'll be there forever.
Very good. Could I get a motion to accept the changes to the plan on 2 Brown Road?
I'll do that. Did we, go to the audience?
We did. There was no comment that.
Okay, so I'm gonna move to approve the revised plan A-1 dated December 8th, 2020, that, Rich, this is the date that you gave us? The plan is stamped December 10th. Which date do you want us to use?
Well, I just read it out of the title block in the plan. It says December 8th, so that's the one on record.
Okay.
Actually, Becky, point of order, I guess we do need a deliberation on this, so I will look for deliberation, and I'll start with you.
I'll approve this. That's fine.
Very good. Ken Scholes?
I will approve this.
Jeff Sauer?
Yes, I will approve this.
Ken Jarvinian?
I will approve this.
Corinne Doherty?
I will approve.
And I also will approve this. Becky, you already made a motion. I will not make it again. I've got a second by Ken Scholes. All in favor, I'll start with you, Becky.
Yeah.
Ken?
Aye.
Jeff Sauer?
Aye.
Ken Jarvinian?
Aye.
Corinne Doherty?
Aye.
And John Bowner is aye. Motion passes, and good luck, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. Have a good night.
And you're our first virtual case for the ZBA, so.
Congrats.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was kind of painless. All right, we're going to move on to our next case. Mr. Clerk, if you may.
We ready?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, sorry. Our next case is Bills A. Weeks, request, docket 21-4902, requesting a special permit for a barn at the rear of the property, 24 feet by 40 feet. Currently, an existing barn garage at the front of the property in accordance with section 6, table 1 of the Danvers Zoning Bylaws at 101 Center Street. This is zoned R2.
I understand we're in receipt of a letter from the Director of Land Use and Community Services, Aaron Henry. If we could read that in, please. Ken, do you have that? Ken Schultz?
I don't know if I have that.
It should be in your packet. with 101 Center.
I have a letter from the owner of 105 Center Street.
Looks like this.
I don't have the,
I'll read it. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead, Becky, thank you.
Okay.
sorry,
This is a certificate of non-applicability dated July 23rd, 2020 to Nils Weeks at 101 Center Street regarding a proposed horse run-in. Dear Mr. Weeks, this letter is from Aaron Henry, Director of Land Use and Community Services for the Town of Danvers. This letter is to document that the proposed placement of a horse run-in, as shown on the undated plot plan prepared by Hancock Engineering you provided, does not necessitate a review by the Historic District Commission under the bylaws of the town, as the area in question is not visible from a public way. Thank you for providing us such a thorough set of documents. Good luck, and it's from Aaron Henry, Director of Land Use.
Thank you. Okay,
by the way, I found it.
okay, it's okay. All right, Mr. Weeks, if we could, please present, what you'd like to do.
All right, stand by. I'm new to this, so.
We all are.
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of connection problems too. But anyways, yeah, Nils Weeks, 101 Center Street. I'm looking to build a 24 by 40 horse run-in / pole barn in the rear of my property. I'm going to start a small farm, so I'm going to need space to put basically, you know, tractor attachments, equipment, stuff like that. It's going to be a gravel floor. No concrete. No, actually, there's going to be no power out there either. I have a small natural gas generator. That'll be the lighting out there. So when I go on, I'll just fire it up. But that's pretty much it. I guess I think I'm almost 100 feet in each direction of the property lines. Not visible from the street. Back in the day when my family owned this house, the existing barn, it was a carriage barn. Horses were in there during the winter. In the summertime, there was a barn out there. Actually, I think it was actually longer or wider, from late 1800s into the 1900s. So basically, I'm just looking to replicate that. It's a single slope roof, kind of like a salt box style. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. I will turn it over the board for questions, and we'll start with you, Corinne Doherty.
I just have one question. We received a letter from an abutter who's a neighbor who's claiming that there's conservation issues, in historical society issues. So, have you, the applicant, have you, either filed applications with them, or has anyone been out to look at your property in those regards? Like, have you contacted the historical society?
Yeah, Aaron Henry, you should have the letter in there. Aaron Henry gave me the thumbs up. So, he said, you know, it's period correct, the building, and, you know, it'll match the area, the historical district. It should be all for me.
And what about Conservation Commission? Do you, have to, I guess, file with the Conservation Commission? Will they have a hearing on this as well? Is there some sort of water or runoff on your land or in your backyard?
No, not in my backyard. It's actually 200 feet above sea level where that is. So there's no water or anything like that.
Okay, all right, so then that's not an issue.
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Corinne.
Thank you.
Ken Javinian.
So the highest point on the sloped roof is going to be 16 feet. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, 16 feet in the front, and then it'll slope down to 7 feet in the rear.
Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff Sauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nils, you mentioned that there's an existing carriage barn. You have any plans for that barn, or?
I'd love to restore it someday. I mean, it's visible from the street. You can see it's kind of, from the cupola up top, it's kind of pushing down. So eventually it will need to, the foundation will need to be redone and stuff like that. I certainly wouldn't put a vehicle in there right now. I mean, a car 3,000 or 4,000 pounds would probably go through the floor. So, yeah, eventually I'd love to redo it and stuff. I don't know.
But this barn is really a totally different purpose. This is going to be for your farm equipment back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And the carriage house is really, if it were restored, would be something to park cars in.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's 7 feet wide, the door opening, so I guess, I mean,
A
yeah.
small car.
Yeah, if you were good at driving, I guess, yeah, or one of those smart cars.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, I have no further questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Let's go to you, Ken Scholes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there's no vehicles going to be in this building? Well, there are vehicles in this building. If so, how do they get back there?
Oh, there's no vehicles in there. It's going to be like farm equipment and stuff like that. There's no driveway, or it's a field. It's all grass and stuff back there. So.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Becky Kilborn.
Thank you. So what is it going to look like? I see the sketches, but there's no real idea what it's going to look like. And what are you going to use it for?
Well, I'm not a builder by any means, so that's what I drew. It's the old style, like salt box, like a shed roof. It's going to have the board and batten on the side, two doors in the front. One will be smaller than the other, just for like a man entrance. But then, when you put the equipment in or drive the tractor in, you can open both barn doors. What was the other question?
What are you going to use it for?
As I stated before, I'm getting a farming status or license or whatever you want to call it. I just, I got to go and get the tax ID stamp from the town and stuff like that. So that's on the next agenda.
Because the letter from the Aaron Henry talks about horses.
Oh no, that's the type of barn, a pole barn or a horse run-in they're called. That's the style that I was going after. So no, I don't have the money to upkeep on a horse, so or multiple.
Okay. So I guess my only concern would be that we get something from the Conservation Commission.
What would that? Why would I need that?
Well, there seems to be some question about there being wetlands back there.
No, my property doesn't have. I think the chairman he visited my property. There's no wetlands at all on my property.
But your neighbor is abutting it and says there might be conservation issues?
No, maybe the chairman can jump in. There's no water on my property.
Well, conservation doesn't necessarily just look at water. I think it has to do with depth. But I'll actually, Becky, why don't we hold that, or we can bring in Rich Maloney, because I actually had a question for him as well. But I want you to finish your question. So, Rich, can you?
That's all I have. I'm all set.
Okay.
Can you hear me, John?
I can. Yeah. Could you speak to that?
Sure. I mean, if we can, if the board grants relief here, and we can just condition the building permit on getting any other permitting that he needs. So we would we would send it upstairs to Concom and confirm that he doesn't need any relief there.
Okay, and Rich, I did do a site visit yesterday. I'm a little confused where there's already pylons and footings. I guess, how did that come to be, and has that gone through your office?
We've not issued any permits for the property.
Okay, so I guess, Mr. Weeks, I'm a little confused, so it sounds like you maybe started this without coming before the board, so I guess what triggered it to come before us?
Yeah, I've been, well, the whole process was probably about April, or maybe even earlier that March. I was trying to get a hold of building inspectors. I screenshotted everything. I've been trying to get a hold of people, and it just, nobody got back to me. Phone calls, emails, time is money. As of now, I mean, just the roof rafters alone were $61 when I was ready to buy them. Now they're up to $103. That's just the roof alone. Like I said, time is money. You know, nobody helped me out at all. I'm a Danvers employee. I figured I'd get somebody at least call and talk to me and give me a little heads up on what I need to do, but nothing was done, so.
I'm not sure that answers my question, but, all right, any additional questions from board members? Yes, Becky Kilborn.
I just think that we should probably read this letter in from the abutter. Did we do that?
I don't know if I didn't have a letter in my packet, but,
I can read it if you'd like.
yeah, go ahead, Ken.
This letter is from Kathy Rogie. She lives at 105 Center Street. I own 105 Center Street, which abuts the land in question on the north and east. I respectfully request the ZBA deny the request for a special permit for a rear property, 20 by 40 feet at 101 Center Street. And she lists 6 different things that makes her want to deny it. Number 1, there has already been a foundation on the site over the past few months. I've observed pylons installed, cinder blocks laid, and crushed stone installed by a small. Unsure if this is what this request is in reference to, and has already been permitted by current zoning bylaws. 2, there are already trailers in what appears to be unregistered vehicle on the property. 3, the construction erodes the values of the neighboring properties as well as significantly infringing on privacy and quality of life due to the proximity of the barn to my land. 4, there is no driveway nor easement to this construction, and it has no frontage on any right-of-way. 5, the property at 101 Center Street falls within the historical district and has an existing 2-story barn garage. The proposed construction is not consistent with the guidelines. We'll skip that because we've already addressed that. 6, the Concom needs to consider how the construction impacts this and neighboring properties, and there is a wetland adjacent to it. So they're saying that wetland is adjacent to this property, and to a convergence of 2 creeks which flood in the spring at the northeast corner of 101 Center Street. And she requests to deny the special permit. And again, her name is Kathy Rogue, 105 Center Street.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Okay, any additional questions from board members? Okay, hearing none, I will go out to public comment. Is there anyone here in public that would like to comment on 101 Center Street?
Yes, I would. My name is Steve Mulaney at number 3 Briarwood Drive.
Go ahead, Steve.
So I actually get a question. The type of farming, is it going to be animal, livestock, or are you looking to do agricultural farming? No.
Mr. Weeks, could you answer?
Yep, I have a little difficulties here getting it on. Yeah, it's, you know, basically vegetables and flowers and stuff like that. No animals, 0 animals, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, there is a fair amount of wet land, I guess, in the back. I know that only that because of the property at 113 Center Street, which is basically in my backyard. That wet area comes down through across the side of my property and all the way out onto Briarwood. And the last thing I would ask Mr. Weeks is the barn, is that going to be where that white Connex box is now, where you have the pickup truck and the trampoline? All that is visible from the kitchen window.
Yeah, that's a little 6x8 travel trailer. Yeah, it's a little, yeah, it's about exactly where it's going to be is right there. Yeah, right there.
Okay. Well, yeah. If that's what that is, then I would ask the board to deny the request as well.
Okay, thank
I'm
you,
glad
Mr.
I'm
Moore.
paying property taxes for everybody's view. You know, it's interesting, very interesting.
All right, well, any other public comment on 101 Center Street?
Yes, Rich is on the phone with someone right now. It's gonna be 1 minute.
Thank you, Kath.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
I can, go ahead.
Hold on. All right, so I just took a call from Frank Arsenault at 113 Center Street.
Okay.
He's in the
What's
butter.
Frank's question or comment?
Yeah, he was ambivalent to the barn itself. He just had he's lived there a long time. He says there is water out there, and he's just concerned that he doesn't think that the foundation would meet today's code. And I told him I will make sure if they get relief that certainly the bond will get reviewed by this office and it will comply with the current building code.
Okay.
And I assured him that we would send this, if it made it through the board, that we would send it upstairs to the Conservation Commission to confirm they're not in any buffer zone.
Okay, and then that's what I think I would like clarity on, Rich, as well as I believe the other board members. So we can vote to approve this special permit with the stipulation that it passes Conservation Commission before a building permit is issued?
Well, yeah, we're going to do that anyway, but yeah, you can certainly put that in your decision.
Okay.
It's a special permit, so you could put conditions on it.
Okay. And Mr. Weeks, I just want to address, you as far as issuing a special permit, there's 7 kind of criterias that you have to meet in order to get zoning relief. So I think you're aware of that, but I guess I'm just making that clear that there's 7 things that the Board of Appeals considers. From everything from municipal water and sewer to if it adversely affects the neighborhood. So, we we try to make a decision based on all 7 of those criteria, so I just want to make sure you're clear about that. Okay, is there any other?
I have a question for you. In 2005, my dad built a barn, garage in the front, 2 doors, or it was a 2-bay garage. There was no special permit that he had to pull. So did something change?
I don't know. I can't speak to your dad's case. If
Well,
you
2005. So that's what I'm
Hold
saying.
on,
From
let me
2005 till now.
Okay, let me answer you. If it was in 2005 and he built it, he would have pulled a permit, and if it wasn't allowed by right, it would have had to come for zoning relief. So if he didn't get zoning relief, what he built was allowed by right. And
Okay,
Rich Maloney could clarify that further if need be, but that's the way I understand it.
I have another question for you. A friend of mine down the street, actually Hobart Street, he put up a decent-sized barn. I don't know if it's in the same zone as I am, but his lawyer told him a 30 by 40 barn does not need a special permit. So
Yeah. Again, Mr. Weeks, I can't speak to other cases. I mean, we're looking at your case specifically and the merits to this case based on what you're submitting to us. So,
okay,
there's thousands of properties in town, and we look at all of them individually. What was done on another property doesn't really carry through to your own. So,
well, in the area that I am, it most certainly does. Another question for you. Farming status. Let's touch on that before we get off.
All right, Mr. Weeks, hold on. I'm going to stop you. We're not here to debate farming.
Well, we kind of do, because it'll take
Weeks,
the town of Danvers out of the picture, actually, because it's state. So
Mr. Weeks, we're just here on
it's null and void. It'll be null and void from you guys. You know, it's like as soon as I get the farm status,
John, this is the,
it's out of your hands. Good day. Good night, guys.
I'm confused at this point. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, me too. I'm very confused.
well, Mr. Weeks is confused by the zoning exemption for farming. It's 2.5 acre minimum, and you have to produce a certain amount of crop that's sold for the
I'm well aware it's $1,000. It's $1,000 per acre, and I'm leasing land from my dad. I have over 3 acres now, so I guess I'm going to go the farming route and take you guys out of the equation. Thank you.
I'm confused on what you're asking me, Mr. Weeks. Are you asking to withdraw? Okay, that's interesting. All right, Rich, I'm assuming where the applicant has left the meeting, we would not take a vote on this, or just make a motion to withdraw? I'm confused here.
You could do whatever you want. I would vote on it.
Okay. Could I get a motion, please? I'm sorry, we've got to go back for deliberations. I think I started with you, Corinne, so let's go.
Yeah.
I'm reluctant to vote for this in light of what just transpired. I think we need Conservation Commission approval, and I would prefer to have a full plan of what this barn is going to look like instead of just a drawing. So, based on that, I would be a no.
Thank you, Corinne. Ken Jabinian.
I just lost signal. Did you just ask me?
Yeah, could you please give us your deliberations?
Yeah, I'll vote yes. I mean, the shape of the land seems like that's like the only really place they could put it out there, out back, and as long as it's approved by Concom and all that, I would vote yes. I don't know why you took off. I mean, I think you had a shot, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know either. Okay, thank you, Ken. Jeff Sauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I was going to root for a continuance, so that we could get an official word from the Concom and we could get a better drawing of the barn, and then I would have approved it. But at this point, with Mr. Weeks checking out, I'm a no.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Ken Scholes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things.
Shot yourself.
He thinks that just because he doesn't see anything wet on his land, he's not in wetlands. It doesn't work like that. So I would need a Concom sign off as well. And secondly, you know, I can understand his frustration. He couldn't get through to the building inspector. We were in a pandemic. The town hall was closed. You've got to understand. So I'm not good with him starting the project without pulling a permit or anything. So I'm a no.
Thank you, Ken. And Becky.
I also have concerns about the conservation issues, and there is I did go out there myself. I know you went there too, John, and there's a vehicle out there that's unregistered. And if you look at the criteria for a special permit, it says that the barn will not adversely affect the neighborhood and that the specific site is appropriate for the location. And based on 3 different abutters calling in saying they don't want it, I think it's difficult to approve, so I would be a no.
Thank you, Becky. I too was a little confused with Mr. Weeks leaving the hearing early. I think sometimes maybe everyone doesn't understand what our charter here is, and we are here to look at zoning, not farming rules and these things, unless it's a direct bylaw that's in front of us that we're trying to make a decision on. So this is a special permit. The board is allotted quite a bit of latitude on special permits, but as I pointed out to Mr. Weeks, there's, you know, as you have pointed out, Becky, there's 7 different things that have to be met. I'm not against this project as much as I agree with Ken Gervini, and I would want to understand conservation's spin on the you know, potential water wetland issues out there. So you know,
Mr. Bowner.
Yeah, who's trying to...
This is Amy Weeks. I'm really sorry to interrupt you. From what I understand, my husband got a little disappointed in how the meeting was going, and I think he tried to mute himself, and it closed something unintentionally.
Okay.
And I was listening to a couple of things that you guys were saying, and I think I can maybe articulate a little bit more on some of the questions from the board. I overheard you guys talking about a car. His intention is not to have, you know, some type of, you know, dump here. The car is actually mine. He restores cars on the side. It's going to eventually be drivable. And it was just purchased. So it's not registered because in order to register, it has to meet certain codes. So that's a whole process. But the idea behind the barn was we actually want to start a hydrangea farm. And in fact, it's going to go all around the barn to blend in with the property. And the barn itself is going to be an open space. It's going to be somewhat of a lean-to just to kind of keep the equipment out of the elements. And it was started prematurely, not because we were just doing what we want. I think it was because initially we were uninformed, so we stopped, and then we contacted the historic board, and we received a letter from the historic board saying, you know, we have approval. So then he started doing the foundation, and then we were informed by, and I don't remember who it was, and I can't quite remember the timeline. So he stopped, and then we've been waiting on the meeting, and I think his frustration is it truly has been an extra expense, because when we started the project and went to the town, we thought, you know, okay, this isn't going to be a big deal, and the products were far more affordable than what you see today because of the delay in the meeting. So I think that's where you could see clearly some of his emotions coming out in that.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that we have them continue this case and speak to Mr. Maloney and try to get some of these things resolved, because it's taking up a lot of time, and there's obviously a lot of questions that need to be answered, so.
I agree. I think we should continue.
Yeah, all right. So Mrs. Weeks, you know, so hold on, we're in deliberations. We're not supposed to take public comment at this point. However, we are in a new kind of setting here, and I'm trying to navigate this. All right, hold on. So, you know, you don't have the votes. If we were to vote on it tonight, it wouldn't pass. You would be denied. So I would recommend, as Becky Kilborn has suggested, and Jeff Sauer as well, that you continue this case. Let's see if we can't get conservation's input and kind of get everybody on the same page. Again, meet with the building inspector. I think you did hear there's, you know, some.
John.
Yes.
John.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to make things very clear here. I told Mr. Weeks he needed a special permit and the Historic District Commission stuff a long time ago.
Okay.
So to say that he couldn't get a hold of this department, we've worked every day through the pandemic. We've had the busiest year we've ever had. So that is not a true statement.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to interrupt you.
No, I'm gonna finish talking.
We have on record the amount of emails he sent and how long the response had taken to get back to us. So I wasn't trying to insult you, sir. I mean, truly, that is what happened.
All right, well, let's
It took
just
a very
disagree
extensive
at
time
this point.
to hear from anyone.
So, Mr. Chairman, Chairman.
Yes.
You have to tell the applicant what the board wants. He doesn't need to meet with the building inspector. You have a couple of members that want to see what the barn is going to look like in elevation.
Yep, and we also want input from Conservation Commission.
And I can get that from the Conservation Commission.
Okay, so Mrs. Weeks, is that clear what this board's looking for? We're gonna suggest that you ask for a continuance to our next meeting.
Okay, and before I let you go with that, do you have a timeline? Because the concern is that some of the products are increasing so quickly.
Well, our next meeting is in 2 weeks. If you don't think there's enough time to get that information in 2 weeks, then we can push it out further. But that's the quickest we meet, is in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So let me go back to Rich Maloney. Rich, do you believe we would have input from Conservation Commission prior to, is it February 8th, I think, is our next meeting?
Yeah.
That is not a problem.
Okay, so Conservation Commission, Mrs. Weeks, will be in our hands before February 8th. We would want improved drawings, I think, is what's being asked by other board members. That has to be in our hands the Tuesday prior to February 8th. Kathy, do you have that date? Is that February 2nd? February 3rd? Somewhere in there, February 2nd.
February 2nd is a Tuesday.
Yeah.
By noon.
Yeah, so then that, Mrs. Weeks, is so that information can get disseminated out to the board and we can review it in preparation for Monday, February 8th. So I think you would like to continue this, and I would like to get a motion. Are you agreeable to that, Mrs. Weeks?
Sure.
Okay, could I get a motion to continue 101 Center Street to February 8th?
So moved.
And could I get a second? Jeff Sauer's a second. I'm going to do a roll call. Becky?
Yes.
Ken Scholes?
No.
Jeff Sauer?
Yes.
Ken Javinian?
Yes.
Corinne Doherty?
Yes.
And I am a yes. So the motion passes to continue the case to February 8th. We will see you then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, Mr. Clerk, if we could go on to 200 Commonwealth Ave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 200 Commonwealth Ave LLC, docket 21-4903, requesting a variance to allow the use of the property for self-storage to construct a new building 24.8 feet from the rear lot line, to allow the building to be 23 feet from the front lot line, and to extend this necessary to allow 2 parking spaces closer than 20 feet to the front lot line. Requesting a finding to alteration of the existing non-conforming parking area with 5 non-conforming spaces within 20 feet of the front lot space, locates within the front setback in accordance with table 1 and 3, section 2.9 and 11.2, section 3, zoning bylaws of 200 Commonwealth Ave.
And the zoning on that, Ken, is C3?
Correct, C3.
Thank you.
Are you ready for me, Mr. Chairman?
I am. Thank you. Go ahead, Attorney McCann.
Thank you very much. My name is Nancy McCann. I'm here tonight with Mick Lafata, who is the manager of 200 Commonwealth Ave LLC. Also with me tonight is the project engineer, Scott Cameron, and the project architect, Joe Latozis. And before I start, I just want to be sure that we are able to screen share our plan set. I believe we should be able to.
Who would, Attorney McCann, who would actually do the screen sharing? Are you doing it, or Kathy Archibald?
Well, Kathy, I spoke to her this afternoon, and I think she's prepared to allow us, I think she or one of the hosts has to allow us to screen share, and then from our side of things, Scott Cameron has the entire submission available.
Okay, well, this ought to be interesting. Kathy, are we able to do that?
I thought that everyone has the share option at the bottom of the screen if they're in the meeting. You don't have a share button at the bottom of your screen, Scott Cameron?
I do. I'm queuing it up right now.
Okay.
Okay, let's see if it works. Hold on, everyone.
Oh, boy.
I feel like we're in that insurance commercial. Hey, I see something coming up.
I think it's working.
There we go.
Hey, there we go. All right, thank you very much. And thank you for meeting remotely and attempting this process, and hopefully this is going to go smoothly. I'm representing 200 Commonwealth Ave LLC, the applicant in this case, and the property is located at 200 Commonwealth Ave in the C3 zoning district. And it's located, I'll describe it loosely, as being on the back side of the Liberty Tree Mall. Not on the Liberty Tree Mall property, of course, but on the Commonwealth Ave ring road around the Liberty Tree Mall. The site used to be occupied by the Leiden Aquatic Center, but back in 2016, the board may recall, there was a significant storm and storm damage to the aquatic center, and the center closed, and it has not reopened. And since that time, 6 years or so, since the original closing of the aquatic center, the building has fallen into disrepair, in addition to the storm damage that it incurred, and it has been sitting vacant. The applicant purchased the property in 2018, and since that time has been investigating different uses of the property that might fit on this site. The site is challenging, as you can see on your screens. It is a perfect triangle, a rather, steep, I'll call it, triangle, which makes development of this site challenging, certainly for the use that's permitted in the C3 zoning district. In addition, we do have wetland considerations on the side and the rear of this property that also impact the ability to develop this. So we have an irregular, unique shape of this lot, and we have soil conditions also that impact the site. The Board of Appeals recognized the hardships associated with this parcel back in 1985-86, when the board granted a use variance for the aquatic center itself, and also granted some setback relief at that time for that building, and specifically cited the irregular shape as well as the soil conditions as being the basis for the variance that was granted again for the use of the aquatic center. So the applicant has undertaken quite a diligent effort in trying to find a suitable use for this site to allow for the redevelopment, and conducted a market study and revealed that the self-storage inventory, I'll call it, available in Danvers shows that Danvers is underserved by the self-storage industry. And in fact, the supply is less than it should be based on residential number per capita as well as residential households. And there really is a deficiency of about 214,000 square feet of self-storage. So within the town of Danvers. And so there is a market for self-storage, and this is a good location for it, given its proximity to residential, proximity to other commercial uses, and it's a good location. The self-storage design also, I'll say, offers some flexibility, and flexibility is important when you're dealing with a triangular site like this. It allows the design of the building to function very well for self-storage, but also work well with the shape of the lot. So it fits well for the shape of the lot. It can be designed, and we think we have a very nice design for this particular building. Self-storage is also a low traffic generator, as the board knows, for the site, and it really suits this site better than C3 uses that are typically office or retail type of uses that are high traffic generators and uses that have a high parking demand that we can't accommodate on this site. So the self-storage became the desired redevelopment for this site, and the next step was to design the building, which we have done, and as will be described, as I look at this, we've basically kept the footprint outline of the aquatic center with one addition on the end, a relatively small addition on the end, but basically stayed within about the footprint of the existing aquatic center building. So we have the site design and then the building design. The building design itself, we're hoping, as you'll see during the presentation, as you saw on the plans, which were quite detailed and submitted to you, is really a very attractive building. Mr. LaFata has not designed a box that is plain and utilitarian looking, as sometimes you see with self-storage types of facilities. This design is really very attractive. It looks quite like a very high-end office building. It's a nice design, and we think it's going to fit well within this neighborhood, which has, as you're going down Commonwealth Ave, you've got Dick's Sporting Goods, you've got a medical office building right next door, and then you'll come upon this building, which is going to fit well just as far as the basic design of this area. Across the street, of course, you have the loading dock area for the Liberty Tree Mall. So we think this has been designed with some nice architectural style and architectural detail that'll make this building fit well within the neighborhood. We are requesting, as you saw in the application, we do need a use variance because self-storage is not permitted in the C3 zoning district. We are asking for a very small rear setback variance. The required rear setback is 25 feet, and we are requesting 24.8 feet, so we're very close on that. And we're also requesting the front setback of 23.3 feet The aquatic center itself and the variance previously given allowed 23 feet for the front setback, so we're basically keeping with that. And we're also asking to allow 2 of the parking spaces to be within the front setback. When under existing conditions, there are actually 5 parking spaces in the front setback, so we're decreasing that nonconformity. I would, as far as the use is concerned, just to get specifics before we get on to the plan, we anticipate 2 employees on site, so it is not, there are not a lot of employees or need for employee parking. Hours of operation are 9:30 to 6, Monday through Saturday. That is when the office area within the building, the rental office, if you will, would be open. But if you have a storage unit, you will be given a security code, and you will have access 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. These hours are very consistent with most self-storage facilities and other self-storage facilities in Danvers. So I think with that, I will turn it over to Scott Cameron. He can walk you through the plan, and then we do have our project architect who will present the architectural drawing for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy, and good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thanks for having us tonight. Great to see some familiar faces and a lot of new facial hair that's grown since the last time I saw you before the pandemic, myself included.
Yeah.
I was a project civil engineer, and my company also performed the survey of the property. Ahead of doing the survey, we engaged LEC Environmental, who conducted a delineation of the wetland resources on the site. And I wanted to start there a little bit. What I did on the site plan, this is exactly what's in your package. I just added some color to it to help clarify what you're looking at. What I did is I highlighted the green area of the property, which falls on the rear lot line, creeps into the site, and you can see very close to the building. The green area is actually wetland resource area, and even though portions of that have been mowed historically, it's kind of low-lying bushes and shrubs on the edges. By definition, what they found was it is actually wetland resource areas. There's soils that are wetland soils, and there's the water table that's there to qualify it as a wetland. And that presented some design constraints for us because obviously, you know, when we talk about the shape of the lot and the triangular shape, we were really left with wanting to make sure we don't impact the wetlands any greater. Really what happened is they kind of grew back in since the aquatic center building was constructed in the mid-'80s, but they kind of filled back in, and they kind of are what they are today, regardless of whether they're natural or man-made. They're wetland resource areas. So the shape of the property, you can see the triangular wedge. It's about 450 feet of frontage on Com Ave and about a 45,000 square foot lot. The parking area comes in with 2 driveways with the parking on site, which I highlighted in this gray color. And then you can see the existing building footprint in brown, which has kind of an L shape to it. As we proceeded into the design of the building from a plan view, again, it was really important for us to make sure we do not impact the wetlands, even though we're right up against them, where they've grown in up against the foundation. So what we did is we held the line of the foundation for the new building. So that became the building line. We held that same footprint for the majority of the building footprint. And then what we did is we extended off the front of the building with a 70 foot by 42 foot addition off the front. And I'll explain the reason for that. But where we talk about maintaining the plane of the building, all we did was extend that in a straight line, and we ended up with about a 3-inch, we're about 3 inches too close to the rear lot line, which is that 24.8 foot dimension that we're seeking the variance under. And then you'll see the front setbacks where we held the setbacks 23.3, 24 on this corner, and then 23.6 on this corner. So we're not encroaching any closer to Com Ave than the existing building. So we held the addition to make sure we're no closer to the street line than what is there now. We maintain 2 curb cuts. So again, it's one way in and one way out. So we are going to direct vehicles how we want them to circulate to the property. And what would happen is an operator would pull into the property, and if they have a residential sized vehicle or a passenger sized vehicle or van, they would park in one of the 11 surface spaces, 10 unrestricted and 1 handicap only accessible parking space with the loading zone. Or if they have a larger moving truck, what they would do is pull straight forward and then back into the building. So there's 2 more parking spaces for trucks within the building, and that would hold 2 large-sized box trucks for unloading directly within the building. So in total, there was 13 parking spaces provided on the property as part of the design. And you can see the distinct shape of the building that we held. We're not going to go any closer into that wetland than is now, acknowledging there would be some temporary impact that we would work through with the Conservation Commission under a future filing with the Conservation Commission. So there would be more of the technical review of that work and how it would be conducted, with, of course, seeking ultimately the approval from the Conservation Commission. In total, we are reducing the impervious footprint of the property. So you can see, obviously, the building is larger by the 70 by 42 foot addition, but the parking area, which is in the gray, is significantly smaller. So in total, we're reducing the impervious footprint by about 1,000 square feet as a matter of constructing the project, and we're pulling a lot of that pavement away from the wetland in this area of the property. And also we're pulling it off the lot line. So where we could pull the existing developed footprint of the property away from a wetland resource area, we tried to do so. So you can see the area all around the perimeter of this parking area. This is all paved now, right up to the wetland and the lot line, and we'll be pulling all of that off. So in total, we're trying to pull everything and shrink it and constrain as much as possible to be sensitive to that resource area. Finally, I want to talk about the parking, because obviously, you know, you'd think 13 parking spaces for a building that's about 63,000 square feet in size and about maybe 450 or so storage units, depending on how they are finally laid out. Only 13 parking spaces. Well, what we did is we went to the Institute of Traffic Engineering parking generation manual. You might have heard on other applications in the past a reference to ITE. We use this frequently for calculating or projecting the volume of traffic that might be generated by a particular use. In this case, we're actually looking at parking studies specifically, not necessarily the traffic. And what we were looking to see is for the peak hour of demand, either on a weekend or a weekday. In this case, it would be a weekday. What is the maximum parking demand that we would anticipate on this property for this use? So we looked at it in 2 ways, and we looked at it based on square footage, and we looked at it based on the total number of units we're expecting for the property. And with the information we can provide, and this is data it's empirical data that's measured over a course of study areas over a period of time. And what we found was that data resulted in a demand of 7 vehicles based on a square footage calculation. So we're looking at it for every 1,000 square feet of building space, there's a certain amount of vehicles that we would expect to be needed to be parked in the property. And when we looked at it based on storage units, we found, not surprisingly, a similar demand, because the storage unit size is typically in keeping with the size of the building. So what we see is a demand anticipated to be about 7 cars on our maximum hour of use during a weekday. We then looked at also what average units would provide for parking, and the parking supplied at the study sites was approximately it came up to about 0.2 vehicles per 1,000 square feet, or about 12 vehicles supplied in the course of the study where we pulled this data. And those sites range from size from about 40,000 square feet up to about 113,000 square feet in size. So the average is about where we are, a little north of that, about 70,000 square foot facilities. And we're very much in keeping with that. So we are providing 13 parking spaces total. We're anticipating a peak demand of 7 parking spaces, leaving us with about 6 additional parking spaces as a buffer, which would get us well beyond the anticipated maximum demand, or about only needing, providing about 50% more parking spaces than what we anticipate needing. So I will pass this off to Joe to talk to you a little bit about the architecture.
Thank you.
We have you, Joe?
He's mute. There you go.
There we go. There we go. Just unmute myself. So, yeah, thank you for having us this evening, letting us talk about this project. So, we started working with Mr. LaFata in early September of last year to kind of take a look at the site and see what we could do to provide a climate-controlled self-storage center for product for this area. So we think, you know, with the team we have here tonight, we're able to create this this project product. So what we have is a 4-story, 63,000 and some change square foot building. Approximately 450 storage units, give or take, will be determined by a final market study to establish the exact correct mix. The building is 45 feet tall to the top of the roof deck, which is similar to some neighboring buildings and within the requirements of the C3 zoning. Building is designed to provide conveniences that are kind of required and assumed to have in today's top-tier storage centers. Easy accessible leasing offices, leasing sales office, covered and heated loading areas, you know, large corridors within the building, you know, a large elevator that allows for, you know, multitude of items to be carried within the different floors, in an organized layout that is kind of intuitive and easy to navigate when you're inside the building. Even though this site is kind of, you know, has its own challenges, you know, by staying within the existing footprint of the existing building and adding this kind of 70-foot addition into where the old parking lot was, allowed us to lay the building out and have a layout of storage that makes sense. The building itself will be clad in masonry along portions of the first floor, insulated metal panels above that. The insulated metal panels come in a multitude of different finishes. We're proposing that there's a kind of a white, medium gray, a dark gray, and a simulated wood gray. We think that the combination of these materials create for a modern aesthetic that fits in with kind of the commercial and retail of the surrounding areas. I've done quite a few storage centers all across the nation. Design House has been doing storage for about 20 years now. All levels of self-storage from drive-ups to, you know, 120,000, 5-story kind of mega storage centers. And I think that the combination of the parking that's proposed, 13 spaces, including the 2 covered heated loading spaces, the layout of the storage within the building, the massing of the building, the combination of different materials provide for a product that will be successful in this area. The market study deemed that it is, you know, there's quite a demand in the area, and you know, this we think is a good solution to that demand. So I will hand the presentation back to Nancy, and look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Attorney Can, just be aware I muted your mic, so you'll need to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
All right, very good, thank you. So that is, I think that is our presentation. We're seeking the use variance, very minor dimensional variances that I mentioned, and we think this is an excellent use for this property that certainly has challenges both on shape as well as soil conditions. And this will work well. It will be attractive. It will look like it fits into this area, and it will fit well with the uses around it. So we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Attorney McCann. Before I turn it over to the board, if you could just clarify, I guess I'm not really clear on the finding piece of this. You've got 5 non-conforming parking spaces, and you're providing 2 to be located within the front parking setback. I guess,
Right.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. Under the C3 zoning district, which was not in effect back in 1985 when this original building was constructed, the new C3 zoning district has a parking setback of 20 feet. And we currently have, under the current site plan, there are, by my count, 5 parking spaces that don't meet that 20-foot setback, so they're grandfathered effectively.
What is their setback? Do we know?
Boy.
Approximately. I don't need
Yeah,
it.
they're probably in the 15-foot range, something like that.
Okay, so since this was laid out in the 80s, our setback has gone to 20 feet, and these don't meet it where they currently are now.
Correct. And so currently there are 5 non-conforming parking spaces on the site as it's laid out. With our new design, we're reducing that non-conformity to just 2. Correct.
It won't meet the 20 feet.
Correct.
I got it.
So I think it can be handled by a finding. I also included it in the variance section too, just as belts and suspenders. But we will have 2 parking spaces that aren't set back 20 feet.
And again, for the board's benefit, just to be clear, this project, if it were to pass zoning, would still have to go before the planning board.
Absolutely correct.
Very good. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to the board, and I believe I'm starting with Becky Kilborn.
Thank you. Okay, for clarification, I'd like to just go through the setback, the front, the side, and the rear, and I know you're working off the original building, but could we just clarify, under the C3 zoning, you're actually going to tear the building down, so what would be the allowed setbacks? I'm looking at the plan, starting with the front.
And I'll jump in here, and then Scott can point it out.
I don't know who wants to answer, but whatever.
The front setback in the C3 zoning district, I believe, is 50 feet.
Right.
And back in 1985, a variance for the front setback of 23 feet was granted at that time.
For the old building, right? Correct. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the side and rear setbacks are 25 feet required, and we are very close to that. We meet the 25 feet on the side setback, and the rear setback is 24 feet 8 inches, 24.8 feet. So we're almost there, but again, as Scott explained, we're carrying the line of the existing building, and it's almost 25 feet. It's 24.8.
Okay, it was a little confusing because they were referring to residential zoning, and there is no residential abutting zoning, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, it's all commercial C3 zoning in that area, all the way around the building?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And can you tell us, are there any 4-story buildings in that area? I drove around and I saw 3-story buildings, but I didn't see any 4.
Scott, let's look at 6.
Yeah, the height of, so as far as stories are concerned, not immediately adjacent to this, but as far as height, yes. Dick's right, 2 buildings down is approximately the same height, because they have those, if you go into the building, they have, that's about 18-foot floor to ceiling heights on 2 levels. That's a very tall and prominent building right on the corner of Com Ave and, I'm forgetting the name, not Washington. Federal Street. So yeah, that building is very similar in height.
How about the office building right next door, Scott? You looked at that.
Yeah, it's 2 stories and about 36 feet in height. So it's about 9 feet shorter than this building. Again, that one sits up a little bit higher. You kind of come up from Com Ave a little bit. In general, all 3 of these buildings are pretty close. They're within a couple feet of each other as far as the finish, the existing earth grade of the land around the building. So you're looking at I would say a similar massing. And then of course the mall building again is about 36 or so feet, but that sits down a little bit lower, where you see the roof line, above the loading docks closest to this site.
Okay, I just didn't know if it was really going to stand out, being like very high. Okay. And so you added on an addition onto this building. I mean, it seems like the old building was really tight on the site, but now you've added almost another 3,000 square feet times 4. So can you just give us kind of an idea why you felt it was necessary to add to the building versus just keeping with the existing size of, I know you have to put a new building up, but keeping with the existing size of the old building and footprint of the old building?
Do you want to speak to that?
Yes. So, for the market study, or per the market study and the demand and the kind of cost income ratio of the size of the building we have to get the rent we need to pay for the building at that size, kind of 60,000 square feet to 65,000 square feet is kind of the sweet spot. So to increase the building size, we had to come up with a solution to increase the building size. Without the addition, we're at 40,000 square feet, and it doesn't really get us to where we need to be. So that's where the kind of investigation of this addition came in.
I think to add on top of that, to add on top of Joe, I'm not muted. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
To add on to Joe, I think the other consideration too, we came out a little bit further as well. We could have pulled it back a little bit and gone with the full 4 stories of storage units, but we really want to work in that garage space. We felt it's a very convenient thing, especially for the business plan, what the customers would want. But from a design and environmental standpoint, the ability to get those trucks inside environmentally is beneficial, and also any movement or noise that might be generated coming off of those trucks, it's going to be within the space itself. You're not really going to get a lot of noise from people pulling stuff out of a car, but a box truck being inside the building, you're going to have all that self-contained right inside the building. So I think where we weren't going any closer to the street and we could comfortably fit the garage for the 2 box trucks within the building footprint, it made a whole lot of sense. And not just from a marketing perspective, but environmentally as well. Okay.
So 2 more questions. You're asking for a use variance. So just to be clear, this use is not allowed in this zoning district?
That's correct. Self-storage is not allowed in this zoning district.
Okay. And on the parking, am I reading the plan correctly that it says it's supposed to have 1 parking space for every 5 units?
Yeah, the zoning bylaw is very dated, I would say, as it comes.
So that would be 90 parking spaces?
Yes, right.
Yes, you're correct. You did the math right. I think the bylaw parking requirements for self-storage types of facilities are very dated, and they have not been updated as the parking requirements under the bylaw have been updated for like big box stores. That those sections of the bylaw have been updated. The self-storage has not been updated, and it has not taken into consideration that you are having now self-storage facilities like this that have the units inside where you don't have parking in front of each unit. Those parking calculations, I think, were designed many years ago when everybody had a bay door, you know, in front of their storage space.
Mm.
And so when they're thinking about how many cars do we want parked in front of bay doors at the same time, that's how it came up with that kind of parking ratio. The planning board who looks at parking and the planning department has recognized in a couple of locations that the bylaw is overparked in its parking requirement significantly, and that's why we look to the ITE standards, and part of the site plan review will be dealing with an alternative parking plan for the planning board to approve at the site plan level.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Becky. Ken Scholes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So all of these units are internal to this building, right? You can't drive up and pull up the garage door at a ground level.
That's correct.
Everything's internal.
That's correct.
And are these climate-controlled units?
Yes.
Where's all that equipment going to heat and cool them all?
So that will be on the roof. The rooftop.
On the roof, so now you're getting more height than the roof line?
No, it'll be screened by the parapet, and the condensers are on the roof, but there's furnaces on each floor. Probably 2 or 3 furnaces per floor. And then the condensing unit for the air conditioning would be mounted on the roof.
Okay.
Those being, 32 inches tall.
This needs site plan approval, right? We already said that?
Correct.
Correct.
I have no further questions. I'll wait for comments.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff Sauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for Rich, if you're there. So they said that the maximum building height was 45 feet, but I noticed in one of the plans they're asking an additional 8 feet for mechanicals on the roof. Is that allowed by the bylaw?
We have a provision in the bylaw that allows certain structures above the roof line.
Okay. Because really the building's 45 plus 8 then, I think, which is significantly higher than some of the other buildings around.
Give me
I have no further questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jeff. I do want to poke that one a little bit. So I heard 32 inches of air conditioning condensers. So are we talking it's a 45-foot high building with 32-inch condensers, or are we going up an additional 8 feet as Mr. Maloney has pointed out?
So the 8-foot height is coming from the center white massing of the building. That ridge, or that, not that ridge, but that the top of that kind of thing is 8 feet above the roof deck.
And the roof deck's at 45.
Correct.
So we are talking about 53.
Right, but the mass, the right and left sides.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. So this, and I'm sorry, what did you call it? Massing? It looks like a hat to me, but
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
The big sombrero is 8 feet higher than the deck.
Right. Right.
Very good. Okay, Ken Javinian.
And if I could just interject, that does comply with the bylaw.
Yep, I think Rich just cleared that up. Okay, Ken Javinian.
So inside, you pull the truck into the loading dock into the garage, and then so how do you get the product up to the higher floors, like the fourth floor? Is there elevators? Are there ramps?
Yep, so you'd come in, unload your items onto a cart, go through a sliding glass door similar to, you know, any commercial or retail establishment. Through there, and that is the elevator lobby. There's a elevator that it's a larger elevator that you can comfortably fit a pretty large couch in. So you push your stuff into there, go to whatever floor you want. Or if your unit is on the first floor, you bypass the elevator lobby, and there's another set of doors that lead into the first floor. So you only have access to the floor your unit is on at any given time. So if your unit is on the third floor, you have to put your PIN code in, and the elevator only goes to the third floor. You don't have access to the first floor units. So there's an added level of security kind of within that process.
You do have in your packages, you should have floor plans. We don't have them up on the screen, but you should have the floor plans there so you can see the layout.
Is there an elevator in each wing?
No, there's just one elevator. The size of this facility, you know, it's kind of industry standard just to provide one.
And that's the top hat building is where the elevator is?
The elevator is actually in the right side, if you're looking at the screen. Kind of behind where the sign with the C is.
The C, yeah. Okay. I have no other questions.
Thank you, Ken. Corinne?
I have a couple questions. Nancy, you were saying earlier tonight that the offices are open Monday through Friday. I believe you said 9 to 5, but that, you know, tenants would be able to access the building until 9:30 at night. Would they also have access to the garage doors, and would they be able to drive into the facility after hours for the management company?
Yes, let me just say the hours for the office are 9:30 to 6, Monday through Saturday. And Joe, can you answer that question? Are the garage doors available?
Yes. Yep, the garage doors would open again with a keypad. So each person has their own code. So they put their code in, that would open the garage door. You can pull your vehicle in and unload, and then leave when you're done. And everybody's key code is tracked, so the management will be able to know who was there at what time in case anything were to happen.
Okay, and as far as exterior lights and interior lights, would those go off at 9:30, or would you have those on all night?
There will be a series of emergency lighting that stays on 24 hours a day, but all the lighting within the facility is connected to a motion sensor, so it only goes on when it senses motion within that corridor. It's kind of near that unit.
Okay.
You walk down the hallway and they kind of click on like you see in movies as you're walking along. It's very energy efficient. And I'll note too that all the lighting through the site plan process has to be dark sky compliant. Danvers has a strict requirement that you cannot spill any foot candles off the property. So as part of the site plan package, there would be a photometric analysis or an analysis of the lighting influence from the building itself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Corinne. Attorney O'Can, or maybe this is for Joe. So I think I got the hours clear, 9:30 to 6, and then people that are renting the units can go as late as 9:30. What happens at 9:30? Do their cards become inactive?
Yes.
And do you have security monitoring after 9:30? Through outside or inside, or how does that work?
So the facility will be constantly monitored via cameras, but there won't necessarily be any staff present at 9:30 or after that.
I'm sorry, Joe, did you say video surveillance?
Correct. There'll be video cameras throughout the facility.
Okay. And so we talked a little bit about parking, and I just want to understand, if needed, you've got 13 outside spots, what you're calling 2 indoor spots where people can pull into the garage. Can that parking be increased if needed, say planning's not happy with that count you've come up with?
It's a balance, right? So we're entirely within the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. I have a feeling that they're gonna drive a lot of that conversation because we're in the buffer zone. We're working close to the wetland, even though the wetland's grown in over time to the developed portion. You know, we made a concerted effort to try and minimize the footprint of the parking and the pavement on the property, including putting the pavement in the front setback, the 2 spaces here. We could have designed this with a longer aisle and kept the parking going down along the back line and gotten that out of the setback. However, by doing it the way we did it, we're able to create more, I guess, vegetated buffer, which is, you know, again, it's an environmental consideration. And it doesn't really, you know, from my perspective, I don't care if there's a parking space right next to a road on the point of this. You know, we still have landscape around it. It's still going to look nice, but I'd rather keep the pavement and the vehicles with the vehicles, you know, rather than putting the pavement up by the wetland. So do we have the opportunity to expand it? Yes, we could potentially add a couple of parking spaces. We could get creative from there if we needed to. But statistically, you know, we feel we have twice as much parking as they're ever going to need at this facility.
Can I want to interject here just to give you perhaps a comfort level on the parking. You may be familiar with a similar type of facility called Extra Space Storage over on Pope's Lane in Danvers. That has almost twice the square footage in their building. They have about 120 square feet, 120,000 square feet of storage space. We have about 63,000 square feet of storage space, so they're about twice as much. The planning board determined for that particular storage space at 120,000 square feet, 13 parking spaces were adequate.
13, did you say?
13.
Okay, very good. I think you alluded to this earlier, but how many rental units are there going to be, or is this configurable? Can you know, I'm picturing the old MDC hockey rinks where you could open up a garage door and someone gets a double unit. So is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, it's market driven a little bit. We're anticipating about 450.
450.
Yep.
And is this land been purchased, or are we working on a lease? What's going on here?
The applicant owns this property. He purchased this property in 2018 and has been figuring out how best to redevelop it since that time. So the applicant does own this property.
Okay, very good. Okay, before I put it out to public comment, I just want to go back to the board one more time. If you have a question, if you could please just unmute your mic and ask. Okay, hearing none from the board, I will go out for public comment on 200 Commonwealth Avenue for a storage facility in place of the Aquatics Center. Okay, I'm going to double check with Rich Maloney and Kathy. Have there been any calls for anything on this application?
Mr. Chairman, no calls.
No calls. All right, I will press forward and we will move into deliberations. We'll start with you, Becky Kilborn.
Okay, thank you. I think it's an extremely attractive building. It's great that we're looking to do something with this site. My concerns are the height, which I know you're saying that you're going to be within the guidelines. So, and the addition, the fact that it's so high and that we're adding on, I would prefer no addition or a smaller addition. I could live with the height. And, you know, I appreciate the financial concern to make the numbers work, but the building also has to fit the site. If the addition was a little bit smaller, we probably could have the possibility of more parking or better landscaping, I would say. I would just wonder if there's somewhere we can go look at a similar building. I always have that question. So I know I went back to a question, but those are my thoughts.
Are you a yes or a no?
I guess I would be a no at this point. I'd like to see the addition a little smaller, or not at all.
Thank you, Becky. Ken Scholes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't particularly like the height that much, but I think I can live with it. I think the setbacks are fine, and I'm okay with the parking. So I'm a yes.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff Sauer.
Yeah, I too am a little unhappy about the height. I think the building just looks too big for the site. The existing aquatic center is also perched up a little high on the property. So I think it would be a dominating building. I guess I'll wait and see what the other members say, but I'm leaning towards a no.
You're on the bubble. Ken Jarvinian.
I think it's too high. It's going to be 53 feet at the top half part of it, and that's very high. The building next to it, you said, was 36 feet. It's a 2-story building. And then that's about it. For height there, I mean, that would be just overwhelming, I think, for that area. I wouldn't vote for that. I think it's too high. And then the sides are going to be 45, so it's a big building.
Thank you, Ken. Corinne.
I think the building is attractive. I would be very happy if the aquatic center was no longer there, so I would vote for this.
Thank you, Corinne. Attorney McKeon, when I first opened the packet and it said storage facility, all I could envision was U-Haul in orange logos all over the place and something unsightly. I got to say the renderings of this do look attractive. It does have more of an office building look to it. I don't like the height either. However, I think given the site you're trying to work with, I think I could live with it. I think it would be, kind of fit in. It's in an area in town where it is, kind of mall country, if you will, over there. This is where something like this probably makes sense as a resident of Danvers for it to be. So I would be a yes. However, it does not look like you have the votes currently, and we've got Jeff on the bubble. So,
well, let's
what would you like to do?
let's talk about those bubbles. Really, I understand the height concerns, and maybe we can go back to the building elevation spot drawings to talk about the height of this building and the neighborhood that this is in. As you come down Commonwealth Ave, you drive in off of, let's say, Endicott Street. You're going back past a couple of car dealers, and then you come to the Dick's Sporting Goods, which is a very large structure in the facade because of the design of the building, I think. And then you come down, so you've got that building, you've got the mall, which is tall, and Scott gave you the heights on that, but that's a massive building. And you're on the right-hand side as you continue down, you have the loading area, for the mall. That's really your neighborhood there that is going to be facing this building is going to be the loading area and the tractor trailers that are coming into the mall. And then you've got the office building next door, which is, while it's a two-story building, those stories are higher than a typical two-story building. So I think Scott said that was at about 36 feet in height, that office building. And then you come down a little further. Now you're totally on the back side of the mall. You've got a car dealership behind you. And you have a building that, quite honestly, has a beautiful design. And I appreciate the board members noting that this doesn't look like a couple of the other storage facilities, I will say specifically, that we have in Danvers, that are block buildings, no windows. They look like just massive structures, similar in height, by the way, but they look like they have no design, no glass to them. This looks like an office building. And this zoning district does permit 4-story office buildings by right. So it's got to make sense economically to do this project. And we do think that enough effort has been put into the design of this building to justify the height, which again, we're not asking for relief on. It does comply with what is the zoning permitted height for a building that looks like this, and it looks like an office building. So I would ask that you maybe we talk about what the concerns are on the height. I think it does fit, and I'd like to have a little more conversation about that. We do have a lot of landscaping. Ms. Kilborn mentioned additional landscaping if we made the addition smaller. The addition really accommodates the truck, the two truck parking spaces. It's not a very large addition to the footprint of the existing building. The landscaping, we are, by the way, significantly in excess of the required landscaping percentage under the site plans requirements for landscaping, which is 30% of impervious, where we do exceed that by quite a bit. So can we talk about, I don't know, Scott, do you have anything to add on the height, or Joe?
I can add just a little bit about, as far as the buildings that are in the area. Dick's also has a large parapet tower with their sign on it. It's got that big arching roof on it that sticks well above the roof of the building, and they also have clearly a parapet wall around the top. So when I mentioned the height of that building at 45, they have the exact same thing that we're proposing here. And 140 Comm Ave next door also has the same architectural feature with the parapet wrapping around the entire building. They don't necessarily have the tower component, but they do have the parapet that goes up above the main roof line. It's very typical. And as far as any of the buildings nearby, you could see in the image on the screen, this was the multifamily 8-unit apartment that was recently constructed. That actually sits, the second floor of this building actually overlooks the proposed roof. So the roof line of this is about in line with the first floor of the nearest abutter, and that's about 300 feet away. And on the other side of the trees here, and they did a lot of landscaping back there to screen that in as well. So as far as the roof line massing, we put a lot of thought into that, and we feel it is in keeping with the massing in the area, notwithstanding, this is a utilitarian area where you're driving by the back of the mall, so you're kind of driving parallel with it, but the only possible view that you can see is the apartments on the second floor here, in which they're looking at the narrow end of the building. All they're going to see is that narrow end. Anybody driving along the road, I think it's gonna look and feel like it belongs on that stretch with those buildings there.
Okay, well, based on that, I'd like to hear from Jeff Sauer.
I'm a yes.
Jeff Sauer is a yes. You've got three. You've got two no's. Becky, and any change to your thoughts?
John Bonner,
Yes.
this is the building inspector.
Hello.
Hi, we did get a call. We said we're gonna be a little liberal with the calls coming in, just with the technology.
Sure.
So we got a call from, Andrea Daly, Precinct 3 Town Meeting member.
Okay.
And, so she liked the concept, but she feels the building is a little tall. And, you will be able to see it from Ash Street.
Okay. And she's in favor of it or not?
The concept feels it's too tall.
Very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Let me go back to Becky.
With the understanding that the planning board really has to make the decision on parking, I will vote for this. I don't think there's enough space there if you needed to add any parking, or there's just no space on that road, and it's a busy road. People use it as a cut through. So my concern is that there won't be enough room to add even one more parking space if needed. But it's really not our call. I would say it's the planning board's call to make sure there's enough parking. So if it falls apart, it'll be their problem, I guess. So I'll vote for this because we need to do something with that property. And I like the look of the building.
Thank you, Becky. Ken Scholes, any additional comments from you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Attorney McCann, I guess you would like a vote.
I believe we have 4 votes in favor as I count them, so yes, please.
Could I get a motion, please?
All right, here we go. I move to grant, for 200 Commonwealth Avenue, I move to grant the use variance from section 6, table 1 of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow construction of a self-storage facility as shown on the plan submitted. The hardship is the size and shape of the lot, specifically the irregular shape and abutting wetlands. I think we're gonna vote on that separate from the dimensional.
I have a motion and a second by Jeff Sauer. Could I get a roll call vote? Becky Kilborn.
Yes.
Ken Scholes. Ken Scholes?
Yes.
Ken, you're a yes? Jeff Sauer?
Yes.
Aye.
Ken Javinian?
No.
Corinne Doherty?
Yes.
John Bonner, I am a yes. Could I get the dimensional variance, please, a motion?
I move to grant the dimensional variance from section 7, table 2 of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow the building to be 24.8 feet from rear property line and 23 feet from the front property line as shown on the plan submitted, and to allow 2 parking spaces to be closer than 20 feet to the front property line, also as shown on the plan submitted. The hardship is the size and shape of the lot, specifically the irregular shape and abutting wetlands.
I've got a motion by Becky Kilborn and a second by Ken Scholes. He got his fingers up first, Jeff. I'm gonna go with a roll call vote. Becky?
Yes.
Ken Scholes?
Yes.
Jeff Sauer?
Yes.
Ken Javinian? Ken Javinian?
Oh, no. No.
Corinne Doherty?
Yes.
And I, John Bonner, am a yes. Attorney McCann, am I correct to believe that we have captured the variance, so you do not need the finding?
That's correct.
Very good. The motion passes. Good luck. I hope the project works out well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board members. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, thanks for bearing with us. I know it's 9 o'clock. We're gonna do our best to get to all of you. We're moving as quick as we can.
You ready, Mr. Chairman?
I'm not. Give me 1 second.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, let it rip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next case is Christopher docket 21-4904, requesting a variance to erect a 20-foot above-ground pool. Required front setback is 30 feet, requesting 8 foot 8 inches for the pool in accordance with Section 7, Table 2 of the Danvers Zoning Bylaws at 1 Bradley Road. This is zoned R2.
Thank you, and is the applicant on?
Yep, I'm here, thank you.
Tell us what you'd like to do.
So just, basically just like Ken said, I want to erect a 20-foot above-ground pool on the property. Unfortunately, I have 2 fronts to the property because I am on a corner lot. I can't make the 30-foot variance to the second front of the property. Placing it where I could in the yard, basically, I can make 18.8 feet from the front of the property, or a setback to the front of that front of the property.
Okay, so you basically have 2 frontage requirements because you're on a corner lot, Elliott Street being one, Bradley Road being the other, correct?
Correct.
Okay, anything else you want to add?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, let's start with you, Corinne Doherty.
Hello, what is the height of the pool?
The height of the pool, I can pull out, it's around 4 feet.
And what is the height of your fence, that's around your property?
6 feet.
Is that 6 feet? Okay,
6-foot fence.
okay. That was my only question. Thank you.
Thank you, Corinne. Ken Javinian.
I have no questions.
Thank you. Jeff Sauer.
I have no questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Ken Scholes.
No questions, thank you.
And Becky Kilborn.
The only question, that stake that's in, on Elliott Street, is that the corner of your lot line?
Yeah, the corner of my lot line. I'm
Which is
sorry,
right
can you
in-
say the beginning of that again?
Okay, there's a stake with orange tape on it. It's
Mhm.
pretty far in from Elliott Street. It looks like the corner of your lot. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, that's
Yeah.
all. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. And Chris, I think you stated this to me yesterday on a site visit. Your fence isn't actually on your property line, it's inside your property line, is that correct?
Correct, there's a few feet beyond the fence.
Okay, so you actually own further out than where the fence is.
Correct, correct.
Okay, very good. Any further questions from any board members? Hearing none, I will go out to the public. Is anyone here to speak on 1 Bradley Road? 1 Bradley Road. Kathy or Rich Maloney, anything come in from DCAT?
No calls.
No calls. Okay. We'll go into deliberations and we'll start with you, Corinne.
I will vote for this.
Thank you, Corinne. Ken Javinian.
I would vote for this as well.
Thank you, Jeff Sauer.
I'm a yes on this one, yes.
Thank you. Ken Scholes.
Yeah, he's a little strangle-held by the stubble frontage here, so I would vote for this.
Thank you, Ken. And Becky Kilborn.
I will vote for this.
And I too will vote for this. I think this is a, I know typically if this was a traditional side setback, it would be 15 feet. So, and anyone that has to live right next to Route 62, as I mentioned to the applicant, I think he'd rather hear kids splashing around in the pool than cars ripping up and down that street. So, Could I get a motion, please?
I got it, Becky. I move that we grant the dimensional variance from Section 7, Table 2 of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow the installation of the above-ground pool 18.8 feet from the property line as shown on the plan submitted. The hardship is the size and shape of the lot and is undersized and has 2 frontages.
I've got a motion, and I need a second. I have a second from Jeff Sauer. Could I get a roll call vote, please? Corinne Doherty.
Yes.
Ken Javinian.
Yes.
Jeff Sauer.
Yes.
Ken Scholes.
Aye.
Becky Kilborn.
Yes, but I have a question. Of course.
Of course you do.
There are other criteria for the variance that we're supposed to read. Did we need to read that? Ask Rich.
That's the only thing I saw.
I know.
Rich Maloney, can you clarify on that? Did we get all that captured in the variance?
Yeah, typically you read that, yeah, I think everybody has a copy of it about the, doesn't generally affect the zoning district in general.
Yes.
Yeah, that should be included.
All right, Ken Scholes, you want to add, thank you, Becky, for clarifying that. Ken, you want to add that in as part of your narrative?
Where am I reading again?
It's not on there. You would need to add,
You want me to read it?
yeah, go ahead, Becky.
This condition does not affect other properties or structures in the same zoning district. A literal enforcement of the zoning bylaws would involve a substantial hardship to the applicant, and granting this variance will not create a substantial detriment to the public good and will not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent or purpose of the zoning bylaws.
Okay, Kathy, if we could add that to the motion. We've got a second by Jeff Sauer, and I've roll call voted everyone, with the exception of Becky Kilborn. How do you vote?
Oh, yes.
And I, John Bowner, the chair, will also vote in favor of this. The motion passes. Mr. Rideout, enjoy your pool. Hopefully, it'll get in before you know it.
Yeah, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
That's nice. The one variance I read, I do it wrong.
Hey, you know what? The screen's getting, the faces are getting bigger on the screen, so that must mean we're getting near the end. Okay, Mr. Clerk, if we could go on to the next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next case is Sarah and Christian D'Amato, docket 21-4905, requesting to alter condition of previous variance, docket 02-3589, to convert a garage to bedroom living space in accordance with Section 7, Table 2 of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 6 Donegal Circle. This is zoned R2.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
You guys don't need an above-ground pool, do you?
No, we don't. We're happy with our current pool.
Go ahead, tell us what you'd like to do.
So we're asking to change the condition of the garage to a living space. The previous owners had requested a variance to build the garage, and we're looking just to expand our living space and build a master bedroom and bathroom within the garage space.
So you're gonna stay in the existing footprint, no additions to the building?
Yes, yep.
Okay, is that about the size of it?
That's about it?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
that's it.
Let me, just before I hand it over to the board, if I could, Mr. Maloney, so where this was, I know this happens quite a bit in town, right? So people, they got a variance back in the day, they put a garage in there, and typically to turn this into living space, that's why they're here before us again?
Well, the variance was very specific about, the variance was for garage. So when they came to us looking, they wanted to remodel it, we took a look at the original variance and it was very specific. So I thought it prudent that, again, you know, so the record shows what's there is that they changed that condition from a garage to living space.
Okay, and Sarah and Christian, so there'll be no garage at all. This will be the garage door going away, or will there still be a little storage, or how that's gonna work?
Yeah, there's gonna be the front portion will still be a garage, so there'll still be a garage door there. We're going to sort of build out a little bit into the back of the garage. It's a super long garage, so they're gonna build out into the back a little hallway.
Uh-huh.
And there'll be the back part of it will be the garage, will be the living space, and the front piece will be a small garage.
Okay, so there's still a garage component here. You're just
Yeah.
chewing up some of it for living. I got you.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, is that all you've got to present?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with you, Becky.
No question.
Thank you.
I looked at it.
I'm sorry?
I went out there and looked at it. Yeah, no question.
Thank you. Ken Scholes.
I looked at it as well. No questions.
Thank you. Jeff Sauer.
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
And Ken Javinian.
I have no questions.
Thank you. And Karen.
I have no questions either.
And I don't either. I think you've answered them. I think it's pretty straightforward what you're looking to do. Do we have anybody here for public comment on 6 Donegal Circle? Nothing from DCAT, Kathy or Rich?
No calls.
No calls. Very good. We will go into deliberations, and I believe I started with Becky.
I would vote for this.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm sorry, Ken.
I would vote for this.
Jeff.
I will vote for this.
And Ken J.
I will vote for this.
Corinne Doherty.
I would vote for this.
And I too would vote for this. So if I could get a motion.
I move to grant the variance to allow the previously granted garage structure to be used as a bedroom and living space. The hardship is the size and shape of the lot and the location of the existing structure on the lot. This condition does not affect other properties or structures in the same zoning district. A literal enforcement of the zoning bylaws would involve a substantial hardship to the applicant, and granting this variance will not create a substantial detriment to the public good and will not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent and purposes of the zoning bylaws.
I've got a motion. Can I get a second? I've got a second by Ken. Jeff beat you this time by Jeff Sauer.
That's okay. I stayed out of that one.
Can I get a roll call vote, please? Starting with you, Becky.
Yes.
Ken Scholes.
Yes.
Jeff Sauer.
Yes.
Ken Javinian.
Yes.
Corinne Doherty.
Yes.
And I, John Bowner, are also in favor and yes. The motion passes, and good luck with your layout. The building inspector will be in charge, in touch.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all.
Very good.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay. Last but not least. Okay.
As we finally got to you. Our last case is David and Catherine Waldenwitz, docket 21-4906, requesting a variance and special permit to construct an oversized extended family living area, 947 square feet, closer to the right side setback than required, 15 feet to 8 foot 10 1/4 inch, in accordance with section 7, table 2, and section 9.3.3 and section 9.8 of the Danvers Zoning Bylaws at 12 Weeks Road. This is zoned R2.
Thank you, Ken. Well, I think you've both got a full diet of zoning board tonight. So, yeah, I think you've seen everything we're about to ask. So if you could tell us what you'd like to do.
Sure. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm hoping to also share my screen and pull up our presentation materials, give a brief verbal description of what we're trying to accomplish here, and then have those images to refer back to if needed.
Very good. Go ahead.
right. Okay. Well, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Richard Bocelli, the architect representing Kat and David Wolnowitz of 12 Weeks Road. We're here tonight requesting a variance for the right side setback to 8 foot 10 1/4 inches from the required 15 feet per section 7, table 2, and a special permit for an increased EFLA area to 947 square feet from the 750 square foot limit per section 9.33 and 9.8. Kat and David have lived at 12 Weeks since 1996 and brought up their 4 children here. David is a lifelong resident and Kat since 1979. Their goal is to keep this property in the family while aging in place in a new EFLA and have their daughter and her growing family move into the primary residence. Their need is to have a barrier-free and accessible home for David's medical condition, along with nearby assistance from their daughter. This opportunity is mutually beneficial as Kat also helps homeschool and care for their daughter's children. The overall design meets the goals and needs for both families as they age in place, have more medical equipment and supply needs, as well as grow together as a family. The setback relief request is due to the narrow site and needing to fit a garage and accessible space requirements, and the EFLA relief request is also due to the accessible space requirements. Shown here are the 3D renderings depicting the overall massing and design intent. Shown here, and all of this is in your package. Shown here are the large format color diagrams depicting the delineation of areas for the EFLA addition in purple, the primary residence addition with shared space in dark blue, and the primary residence in light blue. The large format A-series 2D drawings depict the floor plans and exterior elevations of the proposed addition, and including sheet A 1.00 depicting the requested side relief setback across a small portion of the overall lot line, shown here. You will also find in the application a partial list of the equipment and needs for David's medical condition. And we have some photos of some of those pieces of equipment here. We also have support letters from their neighbors that were not able to attend tonight that I did share with Rich Maloney today. I'm not certain if you were able to obtain these, but we have a series of support letters from their neighbors. That is the presentation. David and Kat are here in attendance as well.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yes.
I'm going to read those letters in. They're basically identical. I'm going to read one and then state the names and their address.
How many letters are there total?
3. There's 5.
Yeah, sure. Just summarize and then give each name and address.
I will. Thank you. To whom it may concern, we live directly across next to the property of 12 Weeks Road, owned by David and Catherine Wolnowitz, and are in full support of the proposal to add on a 2-car garage, laundry, and mud room, and an EFLA dwelling for David and his wife Catherine to move in. We understand David's daughter Sarah and soon-to-be husband Thomas Esposito and their children will be moving into the main home in order to help facilitate care for David. We understand and agree to the requested variances to allow the side variances for the 2-car garage, as well as the request for additional in square footage of the EFLA, both needed for David due to his disability and extensive accessibility needs. We apologize for not being able to make the hearing in person due to COVID, but please accept this letter in full support of their proposal. The first letter is from Mr. and Mrs. Stephen Hansen of 14 Weeks Road. Second one is from Mr. James Milne. He's from 10 Weeks Road, a side abutter. Mr. and Mrs. Bernie and Nancy Ledoux, 13 Weeks Road. Mr. George Carolus of 9 Weeks Road, and Mr. and Mrs. Mark Pellecchio of 101 Forest Street.
Thank you, Ken. Mr. Baselli, is that the extent of the presentation?
Yes.
Very good. We will start with questions, and we'll start with you, Corinne.
Sorry about that. I have questions at this time.
No questions, Corinne. Very good. We'll go to you, Ken Javinian.
So the original outflow is supposed to be what, 750?
That is the limitation bylaw.
Oh, was there, I thought there was an original presentation of this, or is this the first?
This
I'm
is the
sorry.
first.
Okay. I didn't know if you were trying to upsize it, but I have no other questions. So it's not 947 is what you're going for now, right?
Correct.
No other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff Sauer.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Normally, we consider a variance a very high bar, and we always ask the applicant to try to find some other way to arrange a structure such that they don't have to encroach on the setback. I don't really have any questions, just a comment that obviously with the garage spaces needing clearance for wheelchairs and for the mudroom needing clearance for wheelchairs, I can understand why they need this width. So I have no other questions. Thank you.
No questions. Thank you. We'll go to Ken Scholes.
No questions. I'll wait for comments.
Thank you. And Becky, questions?
I visited the site and I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Becky. I also visited the site. I guess this one's for the building inspector. Rich, I noticed on the site there was I don't know, I guess a tree house or something out back. I don't see on the plot plan. Was that a permit pulled for that?
Rich is on the phone, fielding a call, so it's gonna be 1 moment.
Okay, we'll hold on that.
Thank you.
So on, Mr. Baselli, on...
Okay, you can take your question. He hung up.
Okay. Rich, I noticed a structure on the rear of the site. Was that permitted?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm gonna maybe say it wasn't. Maybe, Mr. Or the applicants, can you guys speak to that structure and how it came to be? You're muted. I'm not getting anything.
Hi, we had gotten a call, I want to say 4 years ago, about someone saying that there was the structure in the backyard and that it wasn't supposed to be there. So I contacted the town hall to say, is this something I should be concerned about? And they said, no, you're fine. And I contacted the building department.
Do you have any documents of that?
Personally, a phone call? No.
Okay. Over to you, Mr. Baselli. So I understand to Jeff Sauer's point about the setback encroachments, but it seems to me, particularly at the rear of this EFLA, that I guess couldn't that structure be moved over so it doesn't encroach in the 15-foot side setback at all?
Let me bring back the drawings. So we actually went through a number of design options here, and I certainly understand where you're suggesting that the access into these spaces, getting to the beds, getting around the spaces, warranted it being pushed to the right and encroaching into that space. We minimized it as much as possible, and we pulled back the central area so it didn't encroach on that space. You know, we went through so many design options here, and we came to one that really solved all of their challenges and needs and minimized this relief request that we're asking for.
Okay, thank you. Rich, back to you. If this were granted, the ancillary structure that's there, can that be permitted at the same time or handled at the same time? Or I guess, no, getting a call into town hall and saying something wasn't needed, I guess I'm just not comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I know we've met many times, like he said, through iterations, we've been over this project to meet their needs. So I'm not sure what structure you're talking about.
I think it's some kind of like tree house or shed or something. It's at the rear of the property.
If it's over 10 years old, it's there by right.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tree house that was built about, let's see, my children are, the youngest are 19, so probably about 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah, so it becomes, if it was a violation, it became pre-existing, it became non-conforming by right, legal non-conforming, so.
Okay. All right, any other additional questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, do we have any public comment? And Rich, did anything come in?
Yes, we have one call from Andrea Daly, Precinct 3 town meeting member.
I think Andrea likes this new format.
She loves the format. She's very happy, and she feels like a lot of us, we're all getting older, and she appreciates the applicant, what they're going through, and she feels this is a great use of the bylaw.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions from the public? I don't know who's unmuted. Okay, hearing none, I will come back to the board for deliberations. I think I started with you, Corinne.
Yes, you did. Typically, I'm not one to vote for these expanded EFLAs, but in this situation, I looked at the long list of medical equipment that you need, and it is extensive, so I am a yes on this.
Thank you, Corinne. Ken Gervinian.
With all the equipment and stuff, wheelchairs, and I mean, you definitely need more space. I'm a yes on this.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff Sauer.
Yeah, I appreciate the applicant drawing all these wheelchair circles. I mean, the plan looks like all the hallways are excessively big, the doorways are excessively big. But when you drop these circles in there, it's pretty clear that they've tried to minimize wherever they could. And I will definitely vote for this plan.
Thank you, Jeff. Ken Scholes.
Yes, I would vote for this. Obviously, Mr. Walnowitz needs some special equipment, and it seems to me that all the neighbors are in favor of this, so I will vote for this.
Thank you, Ken. And Becky.
I will vote for this. I can tell that they're well loved in that neighborhood, and it makes sense to go forward. So I'll vote for it.
Thank you, Becky. I too will vote for this. I do think it's large for the site when I look at it. But I guess given the circumstances and again, the support of the neighborhood, I too would vote in favor of it. So if I could get a motion, please.
Ken, do you want to do it? He doesn't.
I'll let you handle it.
Okay.
It's getting late.
All right, here we go. I move to grant the special permit in accordance with section 9.3.3.2 of the Danvers, Town of Danvers zoning bylaw to create an extended family living area on a non-conforming lot. It has less frontage than required. And section 9.3.8 to accommodate mobility and access per the plan submitted. The municipal water and sewer shall not be overloaded by the EFLA. The public streets shall not become overloaded by the EFLA. The value of other buildings and properties shall not be depreciated by the EFLA. The specific site is an appropriate location for the EFLA. The EFLA will not adversely affect the neighborhood. 6, there will not be undue nuisance to vehicles or pedestrians, and adequate and proper facilities will be provided to ensure the proper operation of the proposed EFLA. 7, the proposed EFLA will be in harmony with the general purpose of the bylaw. I move to, that's a special permit. We also need a variance. We need a second. I can't hear you, John.
All right, no yelling at John, though. It's been a long night. I've got a motion and I've got a second by Jeff Sauer. If I could get a roll call vote, I'll start with you, Corinne.
Yes.
Thank you. Ken Jarvinian.
Yes.
Jeff Sauer.
Yes.
Ken Scholes.
Aye.
Becky Kilborn.
Yes.
And I, John Bauer, Chairman, yes. That motion passes. Could I get a motion on the variance, please?
I move to grant the dimensional variance from Section 7, Table 2 of the Danvers Zoning Bylaw to allow for the EFLA garage addition to be 8 feet to 10.25 inches. It looks like 8 feet 10.25 inches from the right side property line as shown on the plan submitted. The hardship is the size and shape of the lot and the location of the existing dwelling on the lot. Excuse me. This condition does not affect other properties or structures in the same zoning district. A literal enforcement of the zoning bylaws would involve a substantial hardship to the applicant, and granting this variance will not create a substantial detriment to the public good and will not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent or purpose of the zoning bylaws.
I've got a motion. Can I get a second, please? Oh, that was a tie. I'm going to give it to Jeff again. Jeff Sauer's got the second. I'm going to go with the roll call vote and start with you, Corinne.
Yes.
Ken Jarvinian.
Yes.
Jeff Sauer.
Yes.
Ken Scholes.
Yes.
Becky Kilborn.
Yes.
And John Bauer is yes. The motion passes. I would like to say good luck, and I hope it works out well for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Great job tonight.
Thank you. Okay, zoning board members, I believe we've done it. The first one's complete. And could I get a motion to adjourn unless Rich or Kevin have anything for us? I've got a motion by Jeff and a second by Ken Scholes. Be well, everyone, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Mr.
Great
Chairman.
job, ZBA members.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I am not at the next meeting. I will be in Florida.
Okay, I will appoint a